Really excited to share this lesson with you today because Jake was struggling with one of the most common swing faults that I see in the amateur game. He had an out to win club path, and that was causing him to be inconsistent with his strike, but also struggling to control the direction of the shots too. So in this lesson, you can see how I pretty simply made some massive changes to his goal swing, straightened out that ball flight, and as a bonus at the end, he even picked up some distance.
So yeah, when you they're left to right, okay, and any time you hit shots left to right, they're really going to start left and stay left. They're going to start left and fade back, or they're going to start left and fade too much. In terms of steep, because you mentioned you thought you were steep, you've almost got two different types of steep. So you can look at how the club is attacking the ball. So we know that a driver would be a lot more shallow, and we know that a wedge would be a lot steeper. So that would basically be, we call it attack angle. So is the club travelling a lot more down, which would be classed as steeper, or is it travelling more up, which would be much shallower? So you've got steep in there, but then you've also got steep and shallow when you're looking at the goal swing from where you are. Someone who is much shorter would have a much shallower swing than someone who's much taller would have a steeper swing. So when we look at impact in terms of the attack angle, you're not steep. Okay, so the club isn't sort of travelling too much down in towards the ground. But when we look at the swing shape, looking at it from where you are, it is steep.
Right.
And we would call that the kind of vertical swing plane. So if I stood here and did something like this, you would say that's definitely not steep.
No.
If I did something like this, you'd say that's really steep.
Yeah.
So you're steep in here, but you're not steep down here. But it is that that's creating the contact. When you've got your target, which we'll class as 0, at the point of contact, your club is travelling significantly left of that.
Yeah.
The worst one you had was like 11 degrees left.
That's quite a
So
lot.
when your club travels left of that, that's when you're going to get pulls, fades, and then slices.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the reason that it travels 11 degrees left is because of the swing shape. Okay. So the thing that we need to do for you is look at how your body works, how your arms work, and how the club work in the backswing. And that starts from the ground up. At the moment, your knee doesn't move as well as I'd like it to. Okay. If I was to show you a little extreme, but if I was to show you what I would like my knees to do in a backswing, this will depend a little bit on how flexible you are. I'm not the most flexible. So if I wanted to make it a pretty decent sort of backswing turn, if you look at my knees, they're going to do something. Okay. This one increases in flex. This one decreases in flex.
Yeah.
Because my hips have turned. Now, if I'm less flexible, I may need that to happen even more. We'll show you in a minute on camera. What happens in your backswing is as you start away from the ball, your knees do this, which looks great, but then your right knee actually increases in flex, which basically means that as it increases in flex, it blocks off rotation, which means that your arms get forced too much up.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if we were to take you from the top and just say, turn your knees more, you'd probably end up in a really good place. So when you get to the top of the goal swing, this hasn't moved correctly, which means this hasn't moved correctly, which means you can't then get the upper body into the right position, and you can't then get the arms into the right position. So you could look at your goal swing and say, well, my knee's out of position, my hips out of position, my shoulders haven't turned, my arms are out of position, but it's all really stemming from this
ground.
So if you want to take your setup just as you would normally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wide at base.
Yeah, and then take that left foot,
Yeah.
keep the heel in place, and just slightly more foot flare. Perfect. Okay, so your heels are a little further apart,
Yeah.
and then your left foot's a little bit more flared.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the only setup change I want to make.
Okay.
So from there, if you just want to make your takeaway until the club reaches kind of my hand here. Okay, perfect. And what we should start to see, that there should be a little bit of movement in that stick. Okay, the stick is obviously representing your hips. Okay, so if you look at where the stick is, it's not easy to see, but you can see how it's twisted a little bit, which means that you've got some movement in the hips. Okay, the key for you is if these hips are turning, which they will do, there's got to be a reaction in the legs. My hips are turning this way, my knees are going to react. Okay,
Yeah.
and the key thing would be that these are reacting to this. Okay, it's not really my knees are doing something and my hips are doing something. It's the fact that my hips are turning, my knees are reacting. Okay, so if you just that takeaway again for me. Perfect, good. And then I want you to, as I move you up to the top, I want you to basically keep that stick moving, which would be basically you turning your hips.
Yep.
So as we go up, turn, perfect. Okay, now you look at what your legs have done there.
Yeah.
You should feel more weight on the
Yeah.
heel.
Yeah.
Okay. And this right leg is a little bit straighter. Now you can relax. Now, whether that leg gets to straight, it depends on the flexibility, depends on how much you turn. If you made half a backswing, it would never get straight.
Yeah.
If you made a full backswing, it might get closer to straight. So we can never say it needs to be in this position, but as these are turning, that should be kind of reacting. So just out of interest,
Yeah.
you can do it as a pause if you want, but just do me that backswing. So feel free to pause in that first part. Good. So what was your thought here on the golf club at the top of your swing? Was there any thought about the golf club at the top of the swing?
No.
Look what the legs do, and look where the club is.
I mean, it's a lot further that way, the club face, as it was before.
Correct.
But no, I didn't even think about
Exactly.
the club. It just sort of happened.
And that's the key. But everything's connected. So as long as you can get to that first little piece, change that, knowing that that's going to change this in a positive way, you get to something which looks phenomenal at the top.
Yeah.
But it's all because of what your focus wasn't here. So I just want to explain that movement that Jake was sort of demonstrating and showing you here so it's a little bit clearer. You can see I've got an alignment stick through my belt loops here. Now, if I was to stand this golf ball and just stand up nice and straight, as I turn, these alignment sticks, or the two ends of the alignment sticks, are going to just rotate fairly level. But this isn't how we play golf. We play golf and your hips are going to be tilted, and Jake's were tilted. So what that means is that when we rotate, those hips are now turning on an angle. Okay, so this alignment stick is going to move back and up. This one is going to move down and forwards. So if we think about this alignment stick here and my foot and that distance between the two, this foot is not going to move. So as my hips turn on an angle, this alignment stick is going to move further away from that foot. So if this is moving further away from that foot, any flex in my leg will have to reduce. It's physics. The way it works. So watch what happens as I make this movement. You're going to see as I turn, this alignment stick moves back and up, and you can see how the flex in my knees is changing. What we saw with Jake is as he started, it was pretty good, and then he kind of reflexed, his pelvis sunk down, and he moved away from an imaginary line that was behind him. So first up, I just want you to make this a little rehearsal and just understand that as you turn the hips on an angle, the legs are going to have a reaction. I wasn't wanting him to straighten the leg consciously, it's just the legs reacting to what the hips do. So here's a little drill that you can do to help feel that in the swing. I've got my golf bag. You could use a wall, a fence, a golf buggy, your own golf bag, get a little creative. And I've positioned it in a place where as I take a setup to this ball, I can pretty much just about feel that golf bag. Now I want to be thinking about this pocket on my trail side. And I want to be pushing that pocket onto my golf bag. And I want to feel like I'm actually pushing my golf bag over. Now you can see that I'm not actually doing that, but what this is really doing is it's teaching me how to make this really good turn. Jake, from this position, would have clearly been moving away from that golf bag. So this little exercise would have really helped him. So you can do the same with a wall, and what you're trying to feel is right hip or trail hip is moving back and up, pushing the golf bag. And look what that does to my lower body action. It gets me into a perfect position, which is going to influence where my hands are, and it's going to influence the shape of my downswing as we're seeing in this lesson with Jake. So you're going to basically go set up. You can do your takeaway as normal. Stop here if you want. Your focus from here is, can you keep the stick moving and have the knees react, which will get you here. Pause, and then literally just let the club drop on the ball. Turn up, good, and just let the club drop on the ball. So your club path there, 1.1 into out. Now, we say into out, but it's effectively straight.
Yeah.
1.1 is straight. It just shows you that if you change this, you change this, you change this, you change this, then your downswing is going to be different. It's almost impossible to have the same downswing if it's starting from a different place. So, I mean, that was perfect. Good. Turning, react, legs react. Perfect. At this stage, it's easy to get, a little bit obsessed with the ball, but effectively your focus should be what I call very internal. Yeah. So your focus shouldn't really be anywhere other than what you're doing. It shouldn't be about, I'm hitting to that flag or I'm trying to hit a draw. It should be just about kind of make the right movement. And then once you get better at the movement, your focus can then shift to, okay, well, what I'm actually trying to make the ball do. But at this stage, it's just a case of, can you make the right movement? Good. I'll just leave you doing that.
Yeah. I just hit shots like that on the golf course.
Okay, but actually, that's you see, your path there is 2.5 left,
Yeah.
which is actually a really good place for you to be.
Yeah.
'Cause
So
it's-
initially it was
8.7, with your worst one being 11.
Yeah.
I mean, that club could not be in more perfect position because now it disappears behind your hands. And then on the way down, I'll show you the old one in a moment. But look at where that club is,
Behind me.
night and day. So that's going to give you obviously a different delivery,
Yeah.
and then much more control. As you scale up, you introduce more speed. Your golf swing takes less time. There's more forces. You're more likely to revert back. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a visual around the golf ball for your path. Because what we've just produced there is a club which is now travelling pretty much straight at your target. It was travelling much more out to in. Your focus now, as you build up speed, is still going to be on this, but I just want to create a visual. If you did the swing that you've just done for the last 5 or 6 shots, that bag will not influence you at all.
Right,
You won't hit it, it won't touch you. If you revert back a little bit, you'll hit it, but that's what it's for, okay?
Right.
So just do me a backswing and hold it. So one movement, feel like the right knee basically straightens.
All the way to the top, sorry.
All the way to the top. Right knee straightens, hips turn more, perfect, okay? So you're going to make that as one movement,
Yep.
and then you're just going to go through as one movement, okay? So I still want you to pause at the top,
Pause at the top.
but I don't want you to pause in the takeaway.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean,
Just do that.
there we go. So I need that on the course and an alignment stick. Yeah. No, it's crazy.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
I mean, not that you'd be thinking this on the course, but how do you hit a straight shot? Path at 0,
Yeah.
face at 0. Okay, good. Okay, give me 3 or 4 more,
Yeah.
and then we're going to take the final step, which is basically to take out the pause at the top.
Okay.
So what I want you to try and do now is basically just hit some shots at full speed. Okay. This is still not your focus. I'm hoping it's there in the back of your mind that you're subconsciously aware of it. But your focus is, okay, can I take my setup position? Can I turn my hips to allow my leg to straighten? That'll put the club somewhere different. And then we're using that different position to deliver the club. Hell of a golf shot, that is.
Yeah.
Hell of a golf shot.
No complaints about that.
Hell of a golf shot. There you go. That's perfect. And you see how much that drifted? I mean, it is literally like a drift. You know, and that's basically what you want. And that's absolutely perfect. That was really, really good. And again. I mean, that was the longest one you've hit.
Jeez.
Mate, it's really good.
Yeah.
Your
No,
backswing,
thanks.
if you can get your backswing sorted,
No,
your
I
dowswing
appreciate it. Yeah.
should. I would just, something like this is good because you're not thinking about it, but it's there just to give you a little nudge when you.
Yeah, I mean,
when you
I
creep back.
sometimes do put alignment sticks down, but having something there, a physical object. like
Just,
that.
I mean, head cover would work.
Yeah.
Just head cover would work.
Yeah, no, definitely, no.